Hey there, welcome to the Kinected Podcast, where we shine a spotlight on the incredible members of our connected community. I'm Brent Fessler, your host, and each episode we are diving into the stories and the expertise and the passions of the innovators and the entrepreneurs and the change makers who make Kinected so special. Our goal here is to inspire collaboration, to spark new connections, and to drive business opportunities within our community here at Kinected. So today, I am thrilled to introduce one of my old friends. He's not that old, but he's a friend who's been around for a long time. So one of my old friends, Rod Smith, who is a integrator with EOS. And so let's get started. Rod, so good to have you here, man.
Yeah, old friend is right on a lot of levels.
That's right. We're getting older and older. Yeah.
But we do have a tenured relationship too.
We do. I think we at least go back close to 20 years.
Yeah.
15 to 20 years around the C12 world, and lots of different places where we've intersected, and it comes with hills and valleys and how much time we've spent together over the years. But definitely one of the more meaningful times in my life have been spent around you, and count you as a friend, count you as a mentor, and a couple of other things that we don't have to count you as on the podcast here.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, man.
Good to be here.
So Rod, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to where you are today in your business.
Yeah. So it's been pretty eclectic.
Yeah.
So after some time in the Army, I cut my civilian teeth in manufacturing leadership and ran that course for a while. But I think the seminal point of what got me here is really having a surrendering moment with God, where I went through a forced, self-imposed 13-month sabbatical where I just was appealing to God. It's like, you take this over. I want you to take charge of my professional life and my career, because what I was doing wasn't working. And I kept trying to pick it back up, and he'd remind me, it's like, I didn't tell you to do that. And so that surrendering took 13 months, and so humbled, literally started over from the ground up. And then that has been a completely different trajectory. And it took me into business ownership and executive leadership. And what started out in supply chain logistics turned into healthcare. And now the very things that I had to solve for myself and learn for myself, I'm able to help others with through business coaching.
That's awesome. Yeah. A number of careers. I love the eclectic thing. And I love how God will take all of these disjointed pieces of our life and somehow knit them together into some really cool tapestry that is really fruitful and flourishing. And it seems like you're in a very flourishing time of your life, career-wise.
Yeah.
And it's cool to watch all of that. And that 13-month season of searching, that was around 2020, all right? Is that what you're talking about, or is something different besides that?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah, way back. So,
way back.
More like 2010.
Okay.
And so, or previous to that, God, I jokingly, reflect on my resume. It's like only God can make sense of this.
Yeah.
Because there's no common logic to that thread of continuity, which appears to be none, other than he was orchestrating it all. And that's what I love about it, because he took me in places and paths that I never would have chosen for myself, but that have been a game changer. And there's nothing in me that would think I would be able to do what I do today if he hadn't given me the opportunities and created those paths for me.
Yeah.
And to your point, I have a lot of folks who are close to me, especially in the C12 community, my brothers in Christ who know me intimately, the good and the bad and the ugly. And they said, man, you're in your sweetest spot yet. And that's to God's glory.
I would say the thread that being on the outside, the thread that I've seen over those decades, I would call courageous surrender. And there's lots of always opportunities for all of us, but I feel like your courageous surrender is what stands out to me, and that simultaneous holding loosely, surrendered kind of a posture, but the courage to just go and run full speed head on into something, fully committed into something, which is an interesting dichotomy of that full commitment yet surrendered thing. So anyways, I don't know if I've never put those two words together, but that's what
I received that.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty attractive.
Yeah.
It's very, very much a learned posture of obedience.
It's not what a natural posture is.
Yeah, I've had to do it the hard way. God and I, we have this weird dad joke, sense of humor dialogue that we share from time to time. It's like, yeah, in wrestling with Jacob, he had to touch his hip. For me, it's like, touch my head.
Touch the head.
Yeah, more than once.
Sure. So you were one of our first members here at Kinected almost 3 years ago. So what inspired you to join the Kinected community here? It was a little bit crazy because there wasn't community wasn't the word yet. And how's it been? Has it impacted your work? What's it been like here for you?
Yeah. So a couple of things. Don't even know if this is correct or not, but as I was attracted to Kinected, it started with personal relationships like you, and knowing about the formation and the direction that Kinected was intended to go, and it just seemed really attractive. It's like, boy, a unifying space to where you can bring great people together for a common purpose. That unifying idea was attractive. But then even the name Kinected, good branding, if nothing else, congratulations. But it's kind of like that synergistic side of it where together we're more than the sum of our parts.
Yeah.
That kinetic energy with the connection of community, that's turned out to be prophetic, if nothing else. And I've enjoyed getting to be a part of that, if even just by osmosis and immersion.
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely all, we say better together around here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cliche, but it really is true. It's synergistic. We are greater than the sum of our parts. There's a multiplication that happens. And so many times, I would say personally, it's not the directly working together. It's just being around great people. There's something that the atmosphere is a little bit different. I carry myself a little differently when I'm around good people. And our hope was to have a current here, a prevailing current that was values based and greater purpose oriented. And so you were who would you want in your place? Like an ideal customer of somebody who carries that. And you're like at the top of that list. So I was really grateful when you chose to join here. But Rod, tell us a little bit about the core mission, unique value of your business with the OS, and what problem are you solving for your clients?
Yeah, it's a good question. This is now my fourth company over the last 15 years or 20 years, I guess. And in this company, it's like, okay, I get to start from scratch, and what really inspires me in the space that I want to occupy. And so the name of my company is Hundredfold. The name of my space is the Focus Room, my office here at Kinected. And it's based on Matthew 13:23, that the word sown on good soil, and we hear and have ears to hear and follow that word, that we produce a hundredfold return. And so in that picture, that's what I want to do. I want to help leaders get what they want out of their business and life and or organizational leadership. And the space I live in and work in is helping them solve problems and create that excellence of execution, systemization that allows them to truly experience and as an extension, create a testimony that's attractive to others, not just for the outward success of good businesses run well, but as a calling card to the kingdom, especially if they're doing it in Jesus' name, that it's truly valuable and viable. And it's not just I'm succeeding in spite of myself, or it's a cash grab, but that it's really sustainable and valuable to the community and to the families and the team members that they serve.
I love that, the 100-fold concept and idea. And often on the personal space, I love talking about the difference between a life spent and a life invested. And
That's
often
good.
when we use the word invested, we think of, percentage returns that are something less than 100 as being awesome.
Yeah.
But that idea of 100-fold is a multiplier, and what a and the sustaining part of what you just said, that it is possible and probably should be all of our goals in our business and our personal life to not just be spending a life that ends up bringing stuff into our life, but something that is more like the sowing, where our life has been invested and sowed in such a way that it multiplies, and it's just the 100 multipliers is not even the limit of when you go and get into farming. When you put a seed in the ground, I mean, you get more than 100 seeds back.
Yeah, there's probably a few decimal points potentially missing there.
Yeah. And so that type of mindset is really powerful. Share a success story that comes to mind with your work with 100-fold and with your clients.
There's arguably so many that I think in generality, that what we're doing at a macro level all the time is truly realized with every person I work with. And so some of the things that we're seeing come to pass is vision, traction, and healthy. Vision alignment, getting people really dialed in on what matters, who we are, what we're all about, where we're going. And then the traction, we say vision without traction is hallucination. It's like, yeah, this is what I want to achieve. But if you don't bring it to pass, then it's like, that's just an argument of frustration. And so traction is just putting in those disciplines, systems, and processes that help everybody align to and accomplish the vision. And then healthy, recognize just because you put a bunch of well-meaning and talented and good intentioned people together doesn't mean they know how to be a great team.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing at a macro level. And I see it all the time. If I told a quick story for one of my clients, is that they really got it and they put it all together. And a version of it was, we talked about what the client journey map would look like on a marketing strategy, and they took that seriously and they detailed it out. And then they have these really big facilities, and their Virginia facility was going through a major inspection, and they've been told all along, nobody passes this inspection the first time. You'll be lucky to get through in 2 or 3 times, if at all. And they said, that's not us. We're going to get through it the first time.
Yeah.
And they had this approach, which was like, we know what the client journey map looks like and what our distinctiveness is with our core values, our core focus, mission, and our 3 uniques, our marketing message. And we're really going to sell this to the auditor, to the inspector. And so from the very beginning, they took this person through the whole organization and through the whole campus. And they just kept acknowledging every time that they showed something that was distinctive, that stood out, or the inspector said, hey, I haven't seen this before. They just kept seeding. Yeah, that is different. Wouldn't you say that's remarkable? And then the next time it happened, yeah, that we really are intentional about doing it this way. This is where we put our heart into it. And I would think that you would see it as not commonplace. Wouldn't you say that's remarkable? And before they were done, the inspector was saying, man, this was a really remarkable facility.
Yeah.
And they passed first time.
Wow.
And, and I think that's just a wonderful picture of the work that we do that reaches its maturation level and then shows up later because they're able to connect the dots themselves.
Yeah.
Because that's really my general model, is not to be in their hip pocket, but to be that thoughtful resource that's very much a train the trainer model, that they become their own experts and masters, that they can take it into the organization and see behind that first veneer and know how to put it all together.
I do love that model of how you work, is that you're not building in a dependence on you for a long time. You're actually trying to work yourself out of the consulting gig so that they're dependent and independent on their own.
It's intentional, but also weird. Not many people do it that way.
Yeah. This may be a weird question, but out of vision, traction, and health, is there one that is the bigger challenge, or the one I feel like a lot of folks may have pretty decent vision, but not have any traction getting there, or just be killing their people trying to get the traction and have poor health? Like what stands out to you and as the biggest gap that people, or maybe a blind spot would be the better one?
Yeah, great question. I think depending on the person, depending on the type of organization, all three can be a hang up. Yeah. Overall, it might just be my proclivity for execution. I think it's traction that trips most people up. Granted, the water downstream does not get more clear if you don't have really good clear headwaters. So we have to have clear vision, but that won't win the day.
Yeah.
What wins the day is the consistency, the follow through, the execution of that. And that's also what people experience.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the biggest opportunity, but also the biggest challenges are for most organizations.
Better to execute well the third best vision than to 50% execute the best one.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is General George Patton, World War II armor general. He would say, "A good plan violently executed today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow." And there's a version of that. It's like, hey, let's just get in there and do the best with what we've got, fulfilling the purpose that we have with the capabilities that we have.
Yeah, that's a powerful quote. What's one thing that you wish people knew about your industry or your work?
Not 100% sure that there's anything crazy about it. But one of the things that I think is incredibly important is knowledge is not power. We've heard it forever. It's knowledge applied to the point of value that's powerful. And knowledge is so perishable. If you don't apply it, it doesn't stick. You don't get the results that you want. And I think what I'm doing all the time and what I esteem for others to experience and have for themselves is to apply even just a little bit of knowledge, being faithful with just those little things to get that traction, to get the results. And I think if you could see that for yourself, even in the big construct of business operating systems and tools and disciplines that looks huge, really boiled down to a fundamental is just apply good information faithfully, consistently to win the day.
Man, that's good. That's powerful. I hope we all listen to that one. Let's look into the community, the collaboration that we strive for or try to cultivate here at Kinected. How have you collaborated with other Kinected members, and how'd that come about, and what'd that look like for you?
Yeah, there's a number of facets that I've enjoyed while just being here at Kinected. One, it's an attractive space for events and as a venue, and whether it's C12 or leadership breakfasts or community events, I've loved being able to take part of that, at a breakfast or a luncheon or something else. And then, of course, it's attracted a lot of like-minded people, including, my next door neighbor now after over 2 years, Sergio Luna and Rojo 032.
Yeah.
They moved in next door. Well, they've been a longtime friend and colleague, and my beautiful space was designed, inspired, and helped facilitated by Rojo. So that'd be an example. Yeah. Meeting really cool people and thought leaders in the hall, like Michael Morehouse. they're challengers. They're going to help you see life differently. They're providing a healthy reframe. I love people who put pebbles in my shoes, give me something to think about and stumble over as I do life.
That's great. I love your space. I love showing off your space too, because it is one of those things that people just need to see and look in your window and see what's possible to create a space that Sergio and the Rojo 032 team did for you. And so if you haven't looked at Rod's space or Sergio's space right next door on the first floor here at Kinected, stop by. Because it is one of those things. Once you see it, it's like, oh, I love how immersive. There's no way I can forget who I am, what I'm doing, what the job is there. Because everywhere you look, there's just another nudge, another reminder of your organization, your values, your mission, and so I love that we can use more things besides just a strategic plan or a KPI spreadsheet. We can use our physical environment to continue nudging us, reminding us who we are, going down that path. So it is a beautiful space.
Yeah, thank you.
It's very well done. So what's a lesson that you've learned in your career that you think others in our community here might benefit from?
Yeah, I think I've even already alluded to it a little bit, but it's also very personal to me, but I think it's biblically foundational true for everybody, is latching on to the resilience, the grittiness of the walk that we have ahead. Yeah. And it doesn't get any more real than if you decide to do this business thing or entrepreneur thing. There's plenty of challenges, and it's an opportunity-rich environment for adversity, whether it's relationship, business, or just, going that route that feels like, oh my goodness, I'm all alone in this thing. So the reminder that we've been given is don't set up camp in the valley. Yeah. The valley of the shadow of death is meant to be gone through. So how do we capture that resilience to go through, the grittiness to not stop short of the finish line?
Yeah.
And then I think the consistency, even like I said earlier, show yourself faithful in the small things. Much more will be added to you. How do you just keep doing even the humble things? We don't despise humble beginnings, but how do we just keep doing the humble things time and time again, one step in front of the other? The small habits that ultimately stack and accumulate to great results. I think if we stop looking at the grand gesture and the big reveal and would just focus on the resiliency and the consistency, I think we would be so much further along at the end of that run.
Can you describe where do you go to either a phrase or words or a picture or a tool when you feel like giving up, or you at least feel like being distracted? I think there's plenty of us who don't necessarily feel like giving up, but we feel like being distracted, and that's maybe especially today where tech is.
Yeah.
There's so much noise in our environment, so much noise in our life, in our inbox, that we may not even feel like we are giving up, but we are at least choosing to do something that's a little bit easier than the hard thing that's in front of us. What is your go-to in that? You just try harder? You just just grunt a little bit more? Or?
Yeah, willpower will help a little bit, but it only takes you so far. It's a limited commodity. I think if you really have your vision frame straight, know what you're doing it for, the intrinsic value shows up in that support element. Now there's some good behaviors to latch onto. It's like, how well are we guarding the gates of our heart, our mind, our intakes?
Yeah.
And are we guarding those gates effectively so that we don't fall prey to those distractions or those shiny objects or the codependencies or whatever our particular ditch looks like as we take the high road?
Yeah.
I'm a very visual thinker. So every time we shoot for something worth getting, we're taking the high road, we create distinctive ditches on each side of that high road. So if we just know more about our ditches, then we're going to be more aware of how to stay on that high road. But I think when I go back to a fundamental, a self-coach up is a mentor would tell me, it's like, we don't get this phrase the right way. We certainly don't go where we want to. We don't get to where we want to go to by going down the wrong road faster. And we can't show up and get ready. We have to stay ready. And so from a foundational behavior, how are we investing into that quiet time, relationship with God, first fruits? How are we creating clarity breaks? And what does that cadence or rhythm look like for ourselves? Because if you don't do that, when those opportunities, whether it's distraction, a shiny object, adversity, when it shows up, if you aren't ready, you can't get ready.
That's great.
At least not effectively.
Yeah.
Without some collateral damage. So always stay ready.
And we're recording this during Holy Week. I don't know when you're actually watching it, but in the passages surrounding that, Jesus told his disciples, "You're going to be vulnerable to temptation unless you go and pray and get your tank filled up. And otherwise, you won't have the power yourself or the willpower as much as you want, or even decided. Like, never will I get off the track, as Peter famously said. Though everybody else leave you, I won't." And didn't realize how close he was, just hours away from failing in that 3 times. So I appreciate how you said that. Looking into your space where you're working with businesses, helping them gain traction, build systems and things like that. What is a trend or an innovation in that space that you're excited about?
There's kind of this weird dichotomy that I hold tension with. One is the fundamentals of what we do in business have been pretty well fleshed out and rooted in really solid tools and disciplines for the last 100 years. And so, Lord willing, we get to enjoy that truism or truths lived out for hundreds more. But in this very dynamic season of agentic AI and how that's impacting industry and life as we know it, one of the things that I've come to find peace in is that will never overcome a great interpersonal relationship or a human connection. And for that reason, it's kind of like exciting because in my space, I feel like I've got great job security because I'm able to do something that machine learning will never be able to solve.
Yeah. Relationships, people are still people, and relationships are still essential. We're wired up for them. And I think the risk that technology brings us is making more and more of the fakes or the shortcuts and the things that we're wired up for the real, and feel like social media, feel like we're getting relationship kind of bucket filled there, but it's not. It's a fake one. It's like the sugar in our diets or the processed foods in our pantries that are shortcuts to things that end up being less than fulfilling. And so I think that's something to be aware of and wary of as we, everybody's using the internet, everybody's using technology, everybody's going to be using AI, but we get to choose and remember who we are in that.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. So if you could give one piece of advice to anyone wanting to get into your industry in the consulting world, or even directly into EOS kind of world, what would that piece of advice be?
Short answer, talk to me. The advice itself, I think, would be kind of pulling the thread on something I said earlier around knowledge. Knowledge education is wonderful, but get into application and, again, reflect on those who've impacted me over my career and life. Mentor would reminded me, a person with an experience is never at the mercy of somebody with an opinion. And if you're going to get into coaching or, somebody who's going to even teach, what I would encourage is have some life experiences. Don't just have knowledge. Knowledge just flourishes and blooms out of a relationship or comes off the paper when you have experience to back it up. So it's kind of the difference between having somebody with an experience versus having somebody with an opinion. Having somebody with the experience through application, that they really got some scars and T-shirts to prove the journey, compared to somebody who has the head knowledge or the academic experience. Yeah. I think that's it's vital for leadership, vital for organizational maturity, and then certainly in my industry to be a business coach or a coach in that regard. Yeah, it's kind of like proof to the pudding.
I think those are wise words for sure, and I would even suggest that for young people considering entrepreneurship. It's not that you can't do it when you're young, but I think it's usually a better idea to go learn with somebody else's money and somebody else's business, because we think we have the knowledge to go start a business, which we probably do, but the experience side of that is such a big deal, because it's almost doesn't matter how much knowledge you have, you're not going to understand the risks and all the responsibilities that truly come with starting a business, and certainly people have done that, and as cool as the stories are of those people like the Bill Gates and the Steve Jobs that started these incredible businesses as teenagers, really, or Michael Dell, who dropped out of college to start Dell, right? We're like, well, every 19-year-old is like, well, that could be me. That's how you do it.
Yeah,
is you just get some knowledge, you get a good idea, and you can go start this global company. And that we don't celebrate perhaps the Argio Laternos of the world, or some of the others that have a few chapters stewarding somebody else's businesses before being able to start their own.
I'm a believer in, and you need to be committed to grow where you're planted. Yeah. And a lot of times, the other version of that is being double-minded. It's like, I want something over here, but I'm not in that season.
Yeah.
So what am I doing with the season I've got? And if you're double-minded, then you're not really committed to grow where you're planted. And I'm a big fan of putting in the reps. How many iterations can you have? And so so what if you have a failed start with a new business venture? Put in the reps. Yeah. Take a few risks. I would rather somebody, whether they're an employee or an entrepreneur, or starting something new or continuing work that's already going on, that just get the experience and have your own version of swinging for the fence, doing what it takes to get on base and learning from it. Yeah, certainly don't be risk adverse to adversity, because like you said earlier, it's promised. Might as well get comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I feel like in lots of different spaces, I think you and I have had this conversation in years past of how often somebody wants to start their own thing, not because they truly have a great idea and vision and a calling to do it, but because they just couldn't get along with somebody or, couldn't really steward, they didn't have the humility or whatever that might be to serve and steward an imperfect human who's got flaws and all these other things, and help them build something even as imperfect people, and happens in the nonprofit space and the church space. Do you have anything that you would tell somebody that like that, or a check for us to look for that?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we would say might be a motivator to get us off the couch and into the game. And those call to actions show up through a lot of different facets. From an oversimplified binary approach, it's usually a gain to create or a pain to relieve. And what we have to be really careful about is we can't use a decision to get in the game as an escape mechanism to avoid learning more about ourselves or dealing with a blind spot or overcoming an unreconciled problem or hang up. Because at the end of the day, the common denominator is us. We're taking us with us. And so at every opportunity, if we can distill that down to how am I taking my best self into that next opportunity, we're going to be better off. Definitely don't try to use it as an escape mechanism or a coping mechanism, because you're just going to experience the same hang-ups, faults, and failures and repeat mistakes that you don't want to share with others.
That's a great word of wisdom there. Am I trying to escape pain in doing this new venture, or am I actually pursuing a gain? Thanks, Rod. That was awesome. What is something surprising or unique about you that most people in the community might not know?
Yeah. So I'll give you easy ones, no risk. So statistics like I'm a West Point graduate. I played college football for Army. But something a little bit more vulnerable.
What position did you play?
Yeah, kind of like an outside linebacker.
Okay.
A Micah Parsons without all the talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you're like 6'5", right?
Yeah. So I'm not a small guy. So there's that. Yeah. But I think something a little bit more vulnerable and to me more meaningful. Being a big guy, being sometimes a little bit full of myself, I think God orchestrated something in me that he knew would help me in the long run. And I have what I feel like I call, and what God gave me is a sincerity leak. So I can't hardly have any meaningful conversation or really share my heart with somebody or hear or see a touching story without me just crying and being a hot slobbery mess. I'm the dad that when we're watching a sappy movie or something, that all my kids are looking down the aisle. It's like, yeah, Dad's crying again.
Oh, that's great.
And so I've just made complete peace with it. I don't hide it. I just drive it like I stole it. It's just who God made me to be, and it definitely keeps the calluses in the right place.
All right.
Thick skin, tender-hearted, not the other way around.
Well, challenge accepted. You and I both like personal metrics a lot, so I've just added a new column of how many times have I made Rod Smith cry this year.
That's a badge of honor.
All right. So if Hundredfold or you had a theme song, what would it be?
So I knew about this question coming in, and I am not talented like you are, Brent. I am not musically inclined, and I don't identify with music as much as most. So I asked AI.
Okay.
Knowing me and knowing what, to the degree that AI can know me, it's like, what songs do you think would be my theme song? A very righteous approach would be The Blessing by Carrie Job and I think Cody Carnes.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, it was song by Imagine Dragons. I forget even the name of the song, or another one by the Script Hall of Fame. So It's like those are a couple of.
Yeah, I said yeah. Okay.
I think it probably the things that I found that I identified with was just operating that hundredfold blessing.
Yeah.
In one way. Yeah. But then, that overcomer, resilient spirit, in another way.
I love that. And I get our differences in art, for sure. I remember, it was probably a year and a half ago, we were looking at a piece of art in the art exhibit that had just gone up. And, I think it may have been outside your suite in the hallway there. And, we're just kind of looking at it. and I'm looking at the colors and the techniques, and I don't remember if it was abstract or what, but I remember your comment was, wow, that looks like it took a lot of work.
Yeah.
Which is a very valid dimension of art is how much effort goes into it. It actually resonated with me for recently because we're discussing AI art and what does that look like for us as we curate the exhibit here.
True.
And I think it may have been because of our that comment a year and a half ago. I was like, well, maybe there's some level of effort rubric that we should have with our art. I mean, if it's like too easy, did it really take artistry, unless it was built on that expertise?
Yeah.
And then it would show up, maybe the level of effort wasn't there, but the expertise to have a low level of effort is part of the artistry, right? So sometimes artists make things look really easy, but sometimes a tool comes along and you have a low level of effort and low expertise and try to pass it off as art. And then I joke with the photographers around here. I was like, well, is photography an art? I mean, you just kind of like aim in a general direction and you press a button, right? And how do you call that art? It's like, well, no, there's composition and there's all these other things, right? So level of effort should be one of the dimensions of art. So I appreciate
with my level of skill, no amount of effort, no amount of brushstrokes will overcome that low level of skill.
Fair enough. Well, Rod, how can listeners here in the Kinected community get in touch with you, connect with you, or learn more?
Yeah, so the real easy thing to do is just go to the front desk and leave a note. But my phone number is 210-669-3855. One of my core values is help first, and I like to lead with that. And sometimes it's difficult because my approach is if somebody has a need, or if they see a way that I can provide value, or I see a way I can provide value, then my default answer is finding ways to say yes. Mm-hmm. And then we go from there. But that's the short answer. Give me a call, leave me a note, text me, and I'd love to connect.
That's great. Yeah, and one of our community values here is generosity, and you definitely live that out. It's something that we find in the community here in general is that generosity of somebody who's just asking for advice or thoughts or what do you think about this, and how generously the wisdom flows and the thoughts flow, and sometimes the effort and the collaboration, the doing things together. So appreciate that. And what does I know we talked a little bit before we went on the air about what services and what any kind of specials or things like that.
Yeah.
But generally, when you work with a company, it also is a very generous pathway. So what does that look like if somebody wants to engage with?
Yeah. So the help first shows up again. Yeah. The space that I occupy professionally really kind of falls into three buckets. One is very much my desire to be personally available. I love knee-to-knee interaction. And so as a business life coach or executive coach, I have those, 1 hour at a time moments. Then I also have kind of my specialist lane. And as a specialist, I'm a strategist for carrying ministries inside of for-profit organizations and helping them set up what are the strategies and implementations to help set up my caring and or ministry arm of this organization to care for needs across neighbors. And then my generalist is that I'm not a consultant in a special field. However, I am an expert in EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, and I help businesses stand up what we know as that vision, traction, healthy, the vision alignment, execution through traction, and accountable systems and processes to that point of health. And one of the things in that space, as I work with small to medium-sized companies, typically, some very small, some very large, but in that typical window, 80% of the time, again, that help first expression looks like a free 90-minute meeting. for the senior leaders of an organization or the decision makers, where I can come in and unpack it all in 90 minutes and get to know each other, really make you armed and dangerous to make your very best decision in the season you're in.
That's great. Rod, thanks so much for being with us today. That's going to be a wrap for today's episode of the Kinected Podcast. A huge thank you to Rod Smith with 100-Fold for sharing his incredible story and insights with us. If you're inspired to connect with Rod or explore collaborating with him, you can reach him here on the first floor at Kinected. Stop by the front desk. And to our Kinected community, keep building those connections and driving impact. We really are better together. And to learn more about Kinected, go to www.kinected.work. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for more inspiring stories that come out all the time. And we will catch you next time.